Ever since I was young, I knew the world didn't welcome me. But despite everything, I believe there will come a time when I can help someone. I hope for that. One day, Kori was in trouble, pleading with some men to leave her alone. They kept insisting, not listening to her. Yuya, though nervous, decided to step in and told them that Kori didn't like what they were doing. The men mocked him and even tried to hurt him. Despite his fear, Yuya remembered his grandpa's words about kindness and courage. He knew he couldn't ignore someone in need, even if it meant facing danger himself. Ever since he was very young, Yuya knew that the world didn't welcome him. From constant bullying at school to harsh treatment at home, it always felt like he didn't belong. Kids at school called him fatso and ugly, making every day a challenge. His own family wasn't much better. His parents were strict, always telling him to stay out of their way, and his younger siblings never missed a chance to remind him that he was different. They were attractive and confident, while Yuya felt invisible and worthless. But through all of this, there was one person who believed in him, his grandpa. Grandpa was the only one who treated him with kindness. He would tell Yuya that no matter how tough things got, he should never lose his kindness. He believed that helping others, even in small ways, would eventually bring happiness to his life. He would say, "Yuya, don't let the world beat you down. Stay strong, be kind, and good things will come." Those words were his lifeline, especially after Grandpa passed away. When he died, Yuya inherited his house and belongings. His parents tried to take everything from him, but Grandpa had made sure they couldn't. So, they gave up and cut all ties with him, leaving him alone. Life continued to be tough. At his graduation, his classmates mocked him, even writing cruel things in his yearbook. He lost his part-time job when he was late one day, and his manager, who had already hired someone else, fired him on the spot. Everything seemed pointless. He started to wonder if there was any purpose to his efforts, or if he even had a future. One day, while wandering around his grandpa's house, Yuya stumbled upon a hidden room filled with strange items from his travels. Among these items was a mysterious door. Yuya was amazed at how well everything was working. The door to another world was even more powerful than he had imagined. It felt just like a video game, where objects could be turned into money. He noticed that only people he allowed could use the door, and it would appear whenever he wanted. Curious, he checked his stats, which were all at 1. He found the idea of adding bonus points to his stats exciting, especially since he got extra points for being an otherworlder and a first-time traveler. Exploring his grandpa's house, he found incredible weapons like the Omni Sword and Death Scythe, all marked with his name. Yuya realized that everything inside the fence was his to explore. He quickly learned skills like swordsmanship, and he wondered if it was because he was an otherworlder. Then monster appear near his house and tries to attack the house, but the barrier protects from the outside attack. And then Yuya tries to test his martial arts skill and weapon, then he throw the spear to the monster and kill him. Yuya shocked he killed the monster with one-shot spear. The HUD displayed his growing stats and titles, showing his progress. He tried the asset conversion, turning items like the Great Fong of the blood-stained ogre into money. In no time, he had 1,500,000 yen. The money felt real, yet it was made from other world items. It seemed perfect, like the world had finally given him a chance. At night, Yuya's body started changing, and by morning, he noticed he looked different. Since his mirror was broken and he never liked looking at himself, he didn't pay much attention to his appearance. He saw that his clothes were not right and found some new ones in the house. The royal silk pants and shirt fit him perfectly and stayed clean. He also noticed he was a bit taller than before. Yuya spent some time planting and watering his garden. As he explored, Yuya was amazed at how his life had changed. The world that once ignored him now offered many new opportunities, and he wondered what else this new reality might bring. Suddenly, a hell slime monster appeared in his garden. Yuya defeated it easily with a single strike from his spear and got a rare necklace. He wore the necklace, which increased his level, and exchanged a magic stone for money. He bought a new school uniform and cooked curry using vegetables from his garden. For the first time, he felt truly happy and free. Later, a goblin elite attacked his garden. Yuya used his powerful one-shot technique with his spear to defeat it. This technique was so strong that it easily defeated every monster he faced. He stored the items, but didn't level up because the monster was too weak. Yuya worried that if he returned to his old world, the bullies would start tormenting him again. The next morning, when he went to school, everyone stared at him, thinking he was a model. His younger brother and sister, who used to bully him, were shocked by his new look. They thought he was a transfer student because he looked so different. In class, when Yuya sat down, the bullies from before came over and asked if he was a new student. Yuya introduced himself as the same old Yuya, but they couldn't believe how much he had changed. They were stunned to see that the good-looking person in front of them was the same Yuya they once mocked. Later, Yuya checked himself in a mirror and was astonished by how different he looked. In the evening, his younger brother bullied him again, asking how he had suddenly changed. Despite Yuya's attempts to explain, his siblings continued to taunt him, calling him a useless older brother with no future. Just then, a girl named Kori gently asked if he was truly Yuya Tenju. Kori walked up to Yuya and recognized him as Yuya Tenju. She noticed he looked thinner and mentioned an incident at the convenience store where some men surrounded her. At first, Yuya was confused, but then he remembered what had happened. Kori explained that she wanted to thank him for helping her, even though it might seem rude to investigate him. Kori then surprised Yuya by inviting him to join Osei Academy, a school he knew was highly prestigious. She introduced herself as a member of the student council and shared that her father, the chairman of the academy's board, wanted Yuya to attend because of his bravery. Yuya, feeling unworthy and unsure of his academic skills, hesitated. But Yuta and Sora, who were with them, saw the chance and jokingly asked if they could join the academy instead, bragging about their own potential. Kori firmly declined, saying she wouldn't accept anyone who insulted Yuya. Kori reassured Yuya that the academy values character more than academic achievements, making his enrollment possible. The butler suggested showing Yuya around the school instead of discussing it further. He offered to inform Yuya's current school if he needed to leave early. Kori encouraged Yuya to come along, and as they left, Yuta and Sora were upset. As Yuya thought about the situation, he considered how Osei Academy seemed like a world beyond his reach, something he had always believed until now. Later, in the chairman's office, Tsukasa Hoju thanked Yuya for saving his daughter and welcomed him to the academy. Yuya felt overwhelmed and grateful. At first, Yuya was reluctant to accept Kori's invitation to Osei Academy, downplaying his actions as nothing special. Kori reassured him that unlike others who ignored the situation, he was the only one who stepped in to help her. She emphasized that such bravery was rare and praiseworthy. Tsukasa, the chairman, encouraged Yuya to be proud of what he did, saying that the school values character highly. Tsukasa then directly invited Yuya to join the academy and offered to cover his tuition as a thank you for saving his daughter. Yuya still had doubts, feeling unworthy of attending a school known for its elite students. Tsukasa explained that being a genius isn't just about talent, but finding the right path quickly. He assured Yuya that hard work leads to success and that everyone's abilities grow with effort and experience. Tsukasa invited Yuya to spend a day at the school, suggesting it would be a valuable experience. As Yuya was introduced to Ms. Sawada, a respected teacher, she encouraged him to join her class. Though he was nervous, Tsukasa reassured him that Ms. Sawada's classes were both approachable and popular with students. Inside the classroom, Yuya felt anxious about fitting in with such capable students. But as Ms. Sawada encouraged him to join, Yuya reminded himself that it couldn't be worse than what he had already faced. Yuya Tenju introduced himself, saying, "I'm Yuya Tenju. I'll be joining your class for a trial enrollment at this school. Thank you for having me." Inside, he was anxious, wondering why no one was reacting. He even questioned if it was okay for him to cry or if he could just leave. Meanwhile, several students reacted internally to Yuya's introduction. Ms. Sawada then broke the silence, telling everyone to stop staring and instructed Yuya to sit by the window at the back of the classroom. She started the lesson and told Yuya to ask Hayadu to share her textbook with him. Nervously, Yuya introduced himself to Yukine, wondering if she disliked him. At the same time, Kori was hoping that Yuya was getting along well with everyone. The lesson began on pure substances and mixtures, with Ms. Sawada explaining that a pure substance is made up of only one element. She then invited students to share their knowledge. Yuya noticed that the lessons were similar to what he was used to, but the students here were much more proactive and engaged than he had experienced before. Soon, Yuya found himself bombarded with questions from various students. Ryu noticed that Yuya seemed overwhelmed and suggested everyone calm down. Apologies were quickly made, and Ryu reassured Yuya that everyone was just curious about him. Ryu introduced himself and asked if he could call Yuya by his first name. Yuya agreed, though he found Ryu's cheerful personality a bit overwhelming. Ryu brushed it off and invited Yuya to join him for lunch in the cafeteria. Yuya was surprised but happily accepted the offer. When they arrived at the cafeteria, Yuya was amazed by the variety on the menu. Ryu confirmed it and mentioned that the daily special was even free. Yuya felt like he was in paradise. As they looked for a place to sit, Shingo noticed them and offered a seat, introducing himself and greeting Yuya. Ryu mentioned that he watched Super Heavy Mecha Lord Gadrobo and loved it, with Shingo agreeing and suggesting Yuya ask him for more recommendations. Yuya felt a bit self-conscious, thinking people were staring at him because of his different uniform. Ryu reassured him that it was his face they were looking at. Shingo then asked if Yuya was in any clubs, and Yuya said no, before asking about Ryu and Shingo's activities. Ryu said he was in the Going Home Club. Yuya was surprised when he learned that Ryu was good at every sport, which led many clubs to invite him. However, Ryu ended up in the Going Home Club because he couldn't decide on one sport to commit to. Ryu explained that he enjoys taking on challenges and having fun. Shingo revealed that he was in the game club and was excited to show Yuya the latest game they had. Ryu invited Yuya to join them in playing, and they all agreed to have fun together. Later, Tsukasa asked Yuya what he thought of Osei Academy. Yuya found it incredible, noting that the lessons were easy to understand, the facilities were excellent, and the students were friendly, treating him as an equal. Tsukasa encouraged Yuya to attend their school, reassuring him of his worth. Yuya felt grateful and expressed his desire for continued guidance. Afterward, Yuya and Kori talked about the possibility of Yuya attending the school. Kori invited Yuya to explore the shops around the area after school. She mentioned that some of the shops were featured on TV. Kori admitted that she didn't have many chances to hang out with friends because of her family situation, but was excited about the opportunity to visit the shops with Yuya. Yuya was a bit surprised at first, but quickly calmed down and suggested something he was excited for Kori to try. Kori, knowing how tasty the place's treats were, happily agreed. Yuya felt relieved, glad that he had brought special items from another world to make their time together even better. As they enjoyed their treats, Kori smiled and said how much she loved sweet things. Yuya wanted to try everything on the menu, but also didn't want to overeat and gain back the weight he had lost. Curious, he asked Kori how she recognized him even though he looked so different now. Kori explained that she recognized his eyes. They were still the same honest and kind eyes she knew, even though he had slimmed down. Yuya was touched by her words and wondered if something was on his face. Kori then playfully mentioned that it was surprising he still called her Hoja-san and invited him to call her Kori instead. Yuya hesitated but finally agreed. Kori offered him a bite of her treat, saying that sharing would help them try everything on the menu together. After some initial awkwardness, they both relaxed and enjoyed their food, sharing a light moment. Kori apologized for her earlier reaction, explaining that she was just happy to be called by her first name. Yuya also apologized and suggested they move on without any hard feelings. From a distance, two girls noticed their interaction and thought it was really cute. Meanwhile, Yuya reflected on how he had returned to the other world after his trial enrollment at Osei Academy. Yuya felt both nervous and determined. He knew that once his enrollment was finalized, he might get really busy again. While walking in his garden, he encountered a hell slime monster. Even though he was scared, he defeated it with one swing of his sword. Checking his stats, he saw he was at level 235, but noticed he was leveling up more slowly now. Realizing he needed tougher challenges, he decided to explore beyond his home. As he stepped outside, he heard a human scream and rushed toward the sound. He was shocked to find a dead body. Suddenly, a powerful enemy appeared, a goblin general with strong stats. Even though Yuya couldn't match the goblin's strength or speed, he knew he had special abilities that could help him win. Determined, he fought bravely and used his unique powers to defeat the goblin general. After the fight, Yuya checked on a girl he had seen nearby. Her guards arrived soon after and found her asleep under a tree. Using his invincibility skill, Yuya watched from a distance as the guards woke her up. At home, Yuya was worried about a woman he cared about, but felt better knowing people had come to help her. He tried not to stress too much. As he looked at his shirt, which he washed daily and had special features to keep clean, he worried that wearing the same clothes every day might look odd. With a bit of money now, he thought it might be time to buy some new clothes. Walking through the busy shopping mall, Yuya felt uneasy as people stared at him. Some women even whispered how cool he looked, but he wanted to finish his shopping quickly and go home. Meanwhile, Hikaru was struggling with a photo shoot. The male model, Sho, was late again, which frustrated Hikaru. Even though the manager apologized, Hikaru decided to find a replacement in the mall. Yuya got lost among the many stores and felt confused. A woman approached him, asking if he had some free time. Yuya was worried it might be a sales pitch, but he was relieved when she offered to help him shop for clothes. He politely declined, saying he had other plans. Hikaru and his assistant were trying hard to find a new model. Hikaru reminded his assistant of their previous success with amateur street corner snapshots. He joked about the assistant's hesitation, who quickly backed down. Meanwhile, Yuya was still thinking about his earlier encounter with the women. Nearby, some women whispered about a mysterious man who seemed almost godlike. Hikaru suddenly saw Yuya and excitedly declared that he had found the perfect model. Yuya, confused, was swept into Hikaru's enthusiasm. Hikaru took Yuya for a photo shoot, directing him to smile and pose. But Yuya struggled to keep up with the fast instructions and felt overwhelmed. People in the mall watched them as they worked. Mio noticed Yuya's discomfort and gently reassured him, recognizing it was his first time and that he was doing well. Yuya appreciated the encouragement, but was still nervous. As the shoot went on, he admired Mio's professionalism and tried to stay focused. Hikaru, always pushing for more, had Mio link arms with Yuya, which surprised him and made him panic a little. He tried to stay calm. Elsewhere, Lexia was determined to find the mysterious man who had once saved her, despite Owen's warnings that the forest where they met was dangerous. Her determination was fueled by the memory of the enigmatic figure. Owen urged everyone to stay calm after a dangerous situation, and Lexia promised that they would all be safe with her. Owen, still worried, wondered about the wild side someone had taken on. Meanwhile, Mio's manager approached Yuya with a smile, offering him a coffee as a thank you for his help. Yuya accepted it gratefully. Mio, looking a bit regretful, apologized for dragging Yuya into the situation and asked if he was feeling tired. She handed him a towel and told him to use it and not be so nervous. Yuya hesitated, realizing the towel wasn't his. But he reflected on his tough day and admired how easily Mio handled modeling. Mio admitted she was used to it now, but had made many mistakes at first and faced criticism. Yuya shared how disconnected he felt from the fashion world and how it seemed distant and glamorous, but he recognized the hard work behind it. Yuya was curious about why Mio started modeling. Mio explained that she wanted to be noticed because her parents were always busy. She found joy in making people happy through her work and hoped to inspire others to take an interest in fashion. Mio encouraged Yuya to enjoy the process and take his time. Yuya wondered if he could succeed, and Mio expressed confidence in his abilities. As Hikaru praised Yuya's progress, the scene took a dramatic turn when Sho arrived, instantly capturing attention with his tall, striking presence. The women around were clearly impressed by Sho's appearance. Although he looked a bit disheveled, Sho quickly apologized for being late and expressed his eagerness to finish the photo shoot so they could enjoy a meal. The crowd cheered for him, clearly admiring him. However, things became tense when Sho bullied Mio, asking her out on a date. Mio, who rejected his advance, was uncomfortable with his insistence. Sho forced the issue, and Yuya stepped in to stop him. Sho brushed off Yuya's concerns, accusing him of being a nuisance. This led to a fight between Sho and Yuya. Sho threw a punch at Yuya, but Yuya used a judo technique to throw Sho to the ground. As the situation unfolded, the admiration of the women shifted towards Yuya, who was now being called cool. Sho, frustrated by the change in attention and the impact on his reputation, questioned what had happened. Hikaru, who had recorded the incident, demanded an apology from Sho, criticizing his behavior and suggesting it could harm his future opportunities. Mio felt relieved, noting that Sho's recent behavior had been troubling, and she had struggled with how to handle it. Hikaru recognized the need to address the situation properly, leaving Yuya puzzled about the unfolding drama. Hikaru suggested they inform the director to officially address the issue. Mio agreed, and Hikaru then turned to Yuya, offering him an exclusive contract with their agency. He praised Yuya's bright demeanor, saying he was well suited for the industry and promised he would be happy with his income. Yuya was grateful for the opportunity, but humbly declined the contract, feeling he wasn't skilled enough yet. Hikaru respected Yuya's decision and encouraged him to explore different challenges, noting that youth is the perfect time for such endeavors. Hikaru's assistant then gave Yuya a set of clothes as a token of appreciation, explaining that while they would have liked to pay him, it wasn't feasible due to his amateur status. Despite his initial reluctance, Yuya accepted the clothes, acknowledging that compensation is a common practice. Mio expressed hope to work with Yuya again, admiring his unique qualities. Hikaru noted that Yuya could have easily risen to stardom, but respected his choice not to pursue a career in entertainment, stating that forcing someone into something is unappealing. Mio agreed, and they reflected on Yuya's admirable nature. Hikaru playfully commented on Mio's flushed face, which she embarrassedly denied, adding a light-hearted touch to the encounter. Meanwhile, Lexia urgently warned Owen to stay back as they faced a challenging situation with no retreat. She was relieved to see that help had arrived and hesitated before asking if he would marry her, shocking everyone, including Yuya, Owen, and the soldiers. At the model agency, the receptionist at the front desk mentioned they had no details about Yuya. Lady A was curious about who Yuya might be, while Manby guessed he could be a newcomer. The director, impressed by Yuya's talent and charisma, quickly instructed Kurosawa to secure a contract with him before any other agency could. Kurosawa agreed, and the director was determined not to let such a promising newcomer slip through their fingers. In the thick, dark forest, Yuya found himself in a surprising situation. Lexia, the first princess of the kingdom of Arzelia, stood in front of him with a determined look in her eyes. She suddenly declared that she had fallen in love with him at first sight. This shocked Owen, her loyal guard, who immediately reminded her of her royal duties and questioned how she could be so open about her feelings for someone they hardly knew. But Lexia, confident in her feelings, brushed off his concerns, saying that her heart had already decided. Yuya, still trying to understand what was happening, suggested they move to a safer place and offered his home as a refuge. Owen was doubtful, surprised that someone could live in such a dangerous forest. However, Yuya's calm behavior started to reassure them. When they reached Yuya's house, Owen formally introduced himself and revealed their royal identities. Yuya was shocked, realizing he had been casually speaking with a princess. Despite the surprise, they began forming a tentative friendship, though Owen remained cautious, unsure of Yuya's true intentions. Lexia, on the other hand, was excited about the idea of a romance between them, letting her imagination run wild. Yuya, feeling the weight of the situation, tried to stay calm, knowing his life had just become a lot more complicated. Owen then addressed Yuya, asking if he could call him Tenju, but Yuya quickly corrected him, saying that Tenju was his family name and he preferred to be called Yuya. Owen agreed and started calling him Yuyadano, revealing that they had been searching for him. Yuya was surprised and asked why. Owen explained that Lexia had mentioned someone who saved her from danger in the deepest regions, and she wanted to personally thank him. Lexia then stepped forward, apologizing for not being able to thank Yuya earlier because she had fainted at the time. She expressed how her heart had been racing ever since he rescued her, a feeling she had never experienced before. Then, to Yuya's shock, Lexia suddenly asked him to marry her. Yuya, caught off guard, tried to explain how sudden this was. Lexia, noticing his hesitation, saw it as a challenge in their love story, similar to what she had read in romance novels. She suggested they could start as friends instead, and to Yuya's surprise, she really wanted to be his friend. Yuya reluctantly agreed to be friends, and Lexia happily accepted. Owen noted that Lexia's gratitude had been expressed, but there was still one more thing to discuss. Lexia, determined, declared that the next time they met, she would win Yuya's heart. Yuya then remembered that Owen had mentioned the king wanted to thank him personally and had requested Yuya to come to the palace. Yuya felt overwhelmed by the idea of meeting the king, but Owen, understanding his worry, emphasized that it was a royal command. Yuya reluctantly agreed, and Owen discussed the details, asking for 5 days of Yuya's time. Yuya, trying to manage his commitments, asked if the meeting could be delayed, and Owen agreed to wait until the day Yuya chose. Meanwhile, in a different place, a hooded man nervously reported to Rhaegar that he had failed his mission. He stuttered, trying to explain himself. The assassins he sent had managed to separate Lexia from her knights as planned, but they wandered into the darkest regions where dangerous monsters lived. Despite their skills, the assassins were all killed by the creatures. Rhaegar, frustrated, demanded to know why Lexia was still alive. The hooded man admitted he didn't know. Furious, Rhaegar dismissed him with a warning that there would be no second chances. The terrified man quickly left. Alone, Rhaegar vowed that Lexia wouldn't escape his revenge. He was determined to make her pay for what she had done. Back with Yuya, he was getting ready to leave for the academy. As he walked, he noticed people whispering about him, admiring his appearance. Some wondered if he was famous or a model, while others were captivated by his good looks. At the academy, Tsukasa congratulated Yuya on his enrollment but apologized for not having much time to talk. He encouraged Yuya to enjoy his time there. Yuya, feeling determined, promised he would. In the classroom, Sawada introduced Yuya to the class, asking everyone to be kind to him since he was new. The students were welcoming, cheering each other on during activities. Yuya felt good and ready to begin this new part of his life. Yuya watched the game in awe. He had heard from Shingo that Ryu was amazing, but seeing it with his own eyes was even better. Ryu was on a whole different level, and even Keed agreed. The players on Ryu's side were doing well, but those against him were struggling. Keed noticed Yuya watching and asked if he was just waiting around. Yuya explained that he was waiting for his gym clothes to arrive. Realizing Yuya didn't know her name, Keed introduced herself as Keed Kazama and told him to call her by her first name. On the field, the game was intense. A boy tried to challenge Ryu, but quickly saw it was impossible. Ryu grinned, admitting there was no way through his defense. The other boys were left confused, especially when one of them, Akira, tried a special move but kicked the ball in the wrong direction. Things got a bit chaotic when Ki got caught up in the game. Yuya rushed to check on her. Ki assured him she wasn't hurt and could stand. Akira, feeling bad, apologized over and over, promising to serve her forever, which made Kid feel awkward. Ryu, noticing the situation, explained that Akira was a good guy, though a bit strange, and it might take time to get used to him. Akira thanked Yuya for helping them both and introduced himself as Akira Ichinos, claiming to be the young noble of Osei Academy and Blue Lightning, though none of his friends had heard these titles before. In the girls' changing room, they were talking excitedly about how cool Yuya was, amazed by his earlier goal. They admired his skills and agreed that Yuya was truly special. Back in the classroom, the students buzzed with excitement about Yuya. They were amazed by how good he was at sports and how kind he seemed. To them, he was like a perfect prince. One girl excitedly talked about how Yuya had kicked the soccer ball far into the goal and saved another student from getting hit. As they chatted, their thoughts turned to Yuya's personal life. They wondered if he had a girlfriend and what she might be like. But no one knew for sure if he was seeing anyone. Suddenly, the lively atmosphere in the classroom shifted when the students noticed the arrival of the Red Ogres, a notorious gang known for causing trouble. Panic quickly spread as the gang made their presence felt. Kori, trying to maintain her composure, asked what they were doing there. The gang leader, Yuya, responded with a menacing remark, stating that they were there to cause trouble, especially for those who had looked down on them and let their brother into the academy. Yuya seemed to relish the opportunity for revenge, finding the situation thrilling. Kori pleaded with them to stop, reminding them that the police would be there soon. However, Sora, one of the gang members, pointed out that they still had time before the police arrived and suggested they could cause plenty of trouble in the meantime, even hinting at the possibility of abduction. As they plotted, one gang member expressed concern about the police, deciding to grab Kori and leave. Yuya agreed, saying that while he had his own reasons for being there, causing chaos would suffice for now. The gang quickly moved to carry out their plan. As they started moving, a PE teacher and some students tried to stop them, but things were getting out of control. Yuya felt both scared and determined. He couldn't understand why he was so nervous, even though he'd faced danger before. It was strange for him to feel so anxious now, and he struggled with his emotions. Ryu and Shingo were worried and didn't know how to help. Kori noticed Yuya's pale face and offered to take him to the infirmary. But Yuya made a surprising decision. He suddenly left and jumped out of the window. Everyone was shocked when he jumped from the 4th floor and was still fine. In a dramatic twist, Yuya met Araki, who was eager to confront him. Araki accused Yuya of becoming too arrogant and promised to punish him. The gang members then started attacking Yuya, but he dodged all their attacks and ran toward Kori. Just then, the big gang member, Omori, showed up and tried to overpower Yuya. But Yuya grabbed Omori's head, stopped him, and threw him aside. Everyone, including the gang members and students, was stunned as the situation reached its peak. Yuya checked on Kori and was relieved to see she was okay. Kori was also glad that Yuya was safe. The gang members were shocked and worried about their leader. Their leader rode a motorbike and tried to attack Yuya, but Yuya dodged, causing the gang leader to crash into the building, defeating him. Amid the intense battle, the Red Ogres, who had been causing trouble, were finally defeated, and the police arrested them. Their leader's last words were defiant, but the fight was over. As things calmed down, Yuya asked Kori if she was scared. She reassured him that she wasn't because she had complete faith in him. The PE teacher quickly got everyone back to their seats, trying to restore order, and the students were happy. Yuya, still angry, dismissed the Red Ogres as useless, which added tension with the Red Ogres leader. The leader got so angry that he grabbed Yuya's neck and was about to kill him. But Yuya stepped in to protect his brother Yuya and asked if he was okay. Despite the chaos, Yuya spoke from the heart, telling Yuya that even though he had suffered a lot and wasn't ready to forgive everything, he couldn't abandon his family. Yuya, filled with regret, apologized. Later, at Osei Academy, Yuya's friends gathered around him, amazed by his bravery. They were impressed that he survived and were genuinely relieved he was safe. Yuya thanked them all for their support and friendship. Yuya thought that going deeper into the forest would lead him to stronger monsters, but it didn't seem as dangerous as Owen had said. Then Yuya spotted a small black dog fighting a huge monster, the king orc. The little dog was no match and soon got bitten. Yuya, hiding behind a tree, watched as the monster kept hurting the dog. He couldn't take it anymore and rushed to help. Yuya ran towards the monster and quickly defeated it. The small dog was scared of Yuya, but he tried to calm it down. He gave the dog some healing juice, and soon, the dog, tired from the battle, fell asleep. Yuya continued to heal it, saving the little dog's life. The dog started to trust Yuya, recognizing him as its savior. Yuya was relieved. He looked at the dog and wondered why it was alone. "It's not safe for you here. If you want, you can come with me." The small dog seemed to understand, and at that moment, Yuya got a notification. Tame skill acquired. Black Fenrir has been successfully tamed. Yuya was amazed. "So, there's a skill to make monsters your allies?" He checked the name. Black Fenrir. "You're really strong," Yuya said with a smile. "I'll call you Knight, because of your jet black fur." After the fight, Yuya found amazing loot from the king orc. There was the great sword of the pig king, a huge weapon only a king orc could use. He also found the armor of the pig king, too heavy for a human, and a strange item, the hairbrush of the pig king. It could magically restore hair, making it highly valuable to nobles. Yuya laughed at the thought of such a simple thing being priceless. He also found the meat of the pig king, a rare food that could give someone endless energy. Happy with his new pet, Yuya brushed Knight's fur with a magical brush. "Well, at least I got something useful," he joked. Even though he had defeated such a strong monster, his stats hadn't changed. Puzzled, Yuya decided to figure it out later and headed home. Back at his house, Yuya went to school, leaving Knight behind. His friends, Ryu and Keed, were curious about what he was up to. When Yuya mentioned visiting a pet shop, he got excited. She asked about the dog, getting a little too close in her excitement, but quickly apologized. Yuya explained he didn't have any pictures of the dog since he didn't own a smartphone. His friends were shocked. Who didn't have a phone these days? Yuya said he just never needed one, but thought about getting one now. His friends suggested a nearby pet shop that was also an animal hospital, in case Yuya needed help with the dog. Ryu and Shingo were busy with their own plans, but Keed offered to go with him. Yuya agreed, and Keed blushed, wondering if this counted as a date before quickly dismissing the thought. After school, Yuya returned home and apologized to Knight for leaving him alone, ready for their next adventure together. Yuya looked at Knight and felt happy, knowing their lives had changed. He suddenly remembered he bought something special for Knight earlier with Keed's help. Reaching into his bag, Yuya pulled out a small collar and leash. He showed them to Knight, who looked curious. Yuya gently put the collar on Knight and made sure it wasn't too tight. Knight seemed fine, so Yuya smiled, feeling relieved. Now they were ready to go for a walk outside. As they stepped out, a group of girls nearby noticed Yuya and Knight. They whispered excitedly, impressed by how handsome Yuya looked and how adorable Knight was. Yuya felt a little flustered but proud at the same time. While walking, a familiar voice called out to Yuya, and when he turned around, he asked what kind of dog he was. Yuya, feeling a bit shy, admitted he didn't know because he had found Knight and taken him in. Kori thought it was so kind of Yuya and mentioned how lucky Knight was to have him. Just then, another voice called out to Yuya. It was Mio, a famous fashion model. Yuya was a bit nervous seeing her and asked why she was there. Mio explained that she lived nearby and often walked around the area. Kori noticed who Mio was and felt a little starstruck. Yuya introduced them, and Mio greeted Kori and Knight kindly. Soon, more people started noticing Mio and gathering around. Mio smiled and mentioned that they were drawing too much attention. Before leaving, she asked Yuya if he walked in the area often. When he nodded, after Mio left, Kori glanced at Yuya, her expression serious, but the moment quickly passed as they were interrupted by a cry for help. An old woman nearby shouted that her purse had been stolen. Without hesitation, Yuya sent Knight, his loyal companion, to chase after the thief. Knight sprinted off, while Yuya grabbed Kori's hand, guiding her to help the woman. Yuya reached the old woman, who was still shaken but relieved when he handed her the stolen purse. Meanwhile, Knight had cornered the thief. The thief tried to escape, but as Yuya asked Kori to call the police, the thief panicked and charged at her. Yuya quickly stepped in, protecting Kori and fighting off the attacker. After the situation calmed down, Kori looked at Yuya, relieved. The people around were amazed by Yuya's bravery. He simply smiled and said he was glad to help. With everything back to normal, Yuya reminded Kori they still had a long way to go through the forest. As they ventured deeper, Yuya and Knight faced several monsters. Knight easily took care of them, but then they encountered a powerful crystal deer. Yuya hid, studying the creature's movements. When the crystal deer noticed him and attacked, Knight rushed in to help. The deer was strong, and they had to retreat for a moment, waiting for the right time to strike. With a coordinated effort, they attacked from behind and finally defeated the creature. During their adventure, Yuya stumbled upon an unexpected treasure, a portable lavish open-air bath set. It wasn't just any bath. It had everything from hinoki wood to jacuzzis and even an ultrasonic bath. The bath cleaned itself and came with a privacy screen that made it invisible from the outside. Yuya couldn't believe such a luxurious item had dropped as a treasure. Despite his excitement, Yuya knew the forest wasn't the best place to relax. He decided to save it for later, already looking forward to the warm bath once they returned home. Continuing through the forest, Yuya and Knight destroyed a stone wall blocking their path and found a hidden tunnel. Inside, they discovered an old book. When Yuya read it, he was shocked by its contents, realizing there was much more to the forest than he had initially thought. Yuya held an old book. The title glowed softly, The Book of the Sage. He had heard of the sage before, a mysterious figure who lived nearby. The sage was a master of everything: magic, martial arts, cooking, singing, painting. He even reached the realm of the gods but chose to stay among people. As Yuya read, he felt the weight of the sage's words. Great strength, the sage warned, often leads to loneliness. People feared the sage, and Yuya worried the same could happen to him. He didn't want to be strong, but alone. The sage had lived alone, even after reaching the gods. Yuya knew the sage didn't want him to face that same fate. How could he avoid becoming someone people feared? The answer was simple: trust. Yuya needed to build trust with friends, family, and those he cared about. But it felt hard since he had only just found his first friends. A gentle presence calmed Yuya's thoughts. There was no rush. He could build friendships at his own pace. With this clarity, the book changed. It was time for Yuya to write his own journey. The book held all the sage's knowledge. Yuya knew his life was about to change. He thought about what he wanted to learn: magic. But he wasn't from this world. Could he even learn it? As if hearing his thoughts, the sage's voice spoke. Yuya didn't have the pathways to use magic, but the sage offered his own. Yuya was stunned by the gift. The sage only asked that Yuya live a worthy life and be proud. Something shifted inside Yuya. He felt magic flowing through him. A new skill, magic energy manipulation, had awakened. Yuya and his companion, Knight, were now connected to magic. Yuya learned that using magic was simple. He gathered energy in his hand and thought of the magic he wanted to create. He tried water ball, and it worked. Knight created magic too. Yuya felt ready to start mastering his new powers. Confident, he aimed his water ball at a tree, eager to see what would happen next. King Arzelia ordered Owen to raise his head and asked if he had met the young man. Owen confirmed they found him in the darkest regions, just as Princess Lexia had said. The man's unusual name and appearance stood out. Then, Owen mentioned Lexia's sudden proposal. The king's anger flared. He demanded more details. In a flashback, Lexia boldly proposed, shocking everyone. Furious, the king couldn't believe anyone would try to marry his daughter. Owen, meanwhile, sighed at the royal family's never-ending trouble. In the classroom, Miss Sawada called attendance. Yuya, deep in thought, reminded himself to be careful with his magic. Ms. Sawada then announced an off-campus camping trip. Yuya, surprised, learned they'd camp for 2 nights to adapt to new environments. He was placed in Team 5 with Keed and Akira. Keed was excited, and Yuya agreed happily. When Akira joined, he joked around, telling Yuya to drop the formalities. Rin playfully scolded Akira for his long introduction, and the group shared a laugh. Yuya met Rin for the first time and felt nervous, but she quickly made him feel at ease, asking him to just call her by her first name. She hinted at rumors about him, leaving Yuya confused, but smiled and changed the topic to Akira. Akira's dramatic antics made Rin laugh, while Keed smiled, looking forward to the trip. Yuya, however, realized he didn't have a travel bag. Keed offered to help, suggesting they go shopping together. Later, Kori joined the group with a warm smile. Shingo, nervous around her, was quickly reminded by Keed that they were there to help Yuya shop. Yuya felt guilty for the trouble, but Kori was happy to be with friends. As they bonded, Ryo mentioned how easygoing Kori seemed, despite her prestigious family. Rin agreed, but said people often felt different around someone with such status. Kori, staying humble, asked everyone to call her by her first name, bringing them closer. As they prepared for the trip, Yuya noticed Akira was missing. Shingo explained Akira had other plans and had made a big, dramatic exit, calling himself the young noble. Everyone laughed, knowing Akira's love for drama. At the store, Kori suggested a rucksack for Yuya, which everyone agreed was a perfect fit. Yuya thanked Kori, and they finished shopping, with Shingo excitedly talking about bringing snacks and cards for the trip. Rin reminded them they weren't kids anymore, but it was all in good fun. Next, they visited an arcade. Shingo struggled with the crane games, so Yuya offered to help. Using his sharp senses, Yuya won the prize on his first try, surprising everyone. Soon, Yuya had won prizes for everyone, though he humbly called it luck. They later relaxed at a cafe. Yuya tried to be grown up by ordering coffee, but found it too bitter. Ryu teased him, saying real men like bitter coffee, though even Ryu admitted it wasn't great. Yuya grabbed sugar and milk, thinking about how much fun he was having. Suddenly, an announcement came over the speakers. There was a fire on the 10th floor, and it was spreading fast. Panic set in, and they were urged to evacuate. But Yuya worried about Kori, Keed, and Rin, who were still upstairs. Ignoring warnings, he rushed back to save them. Using his magic, Yuya created a shield of water and air to fight the flames. He found the girls, and they escaped together. Though Yuya was scolded for his recklessness, everyone was relieved they were safe. Kaori's father thanked Yuya, leaving him awkward but grateful. Back home, Yuya reflected on the day's chaos and felt thankful for his friends. Meanwhile, far away, Usagi encountered a mysterious figure named Yuri, who planned to destroy the world. Usagi, recognizing the danger, resolved to stop Yuri and pass on his skills as the deity of kicks. Yuya explained that magic works by turning your imagination into reality. But without the energy to power it, magic is useless. He advised starting by learning how to feel this magical energy. One day, Yuya thought if he focused hard on picturing where he wanted to go, maybe magic would work. Excitedly, he found himself in a forest. He realized he had successfully used magic to get there. However, he noticed he could only go to places he had already been, like home. This was still handy, especially when he needed to go back home during study trips to make meals. Later, Yuya and his dog, Night, were walking in a valley when they encountered monsters. They fought the monsters together, and after defeating them, they collected items. As they were leaving, Night sensed something strange and told Yuya to make himself invisible to hide. Yuya soon saw a girl surrounded by goblins and monsters. He wanted to help, but Night suggested they wait. Suddenly, a goblin attacked the girl, but she dodged and cut off its hand. More goblins charged at her, and she defended herself. However, a larger goblin knocked her into a tree, and she passed out. At that moment, Yuya and Night rushed in to fight off the goblins and save the girl. Yuya then carried her to his small garden house. Yuya decided to take care of the girl, as leaving her behind wasn't an option. When the girl woke up, she was scared and demanded to be let go. Yuya offered her some healing juice, but she didn't trust him at first since he was a stranger. Eventually, she accepted and was amazed when the pain disappeared. She introduced herself as Luna, and Yuya introduced himself and his companion, Night. Luna was thankful for Yuya's help. She was shocked to learn that he was training in the dangerous, darkest regions, just like she was. Yuya explained he was trying to get stronger, which surprised Luna because of how dangerous the area was. Luna suddenly asked Yuya why he was there, but quickly brushed it off, realizing they were both there for the same reason. Yuya agreed. Luna felt embarrassed when she realized Yuya had carried her to safety. She was dirty and sweaty from running away from the Goblin Elite. Yuya admitted he wasn't in the best shape either. Luna sighed, wishing there was a river to wash off in. Yuya offered her a bath, which Luna was amazed by. She praised Yuya for having such a thing. He explained that he got it from a magical creature called a crystal deer. Luna was impressed and understood why Yuya was training in such a dangerous place. Yuya asked if she trained there too, and Luna explained that she was there because of a request from a customer. Luna then asked Yuya if he would train with her. He was worried about her training alone, so he agreed to stay with her for a while, although he couldn't be there all the time. Luna was happy and excited to get stronger with his help. The next day, Yuya and Luna prepared to fight more goblin monsters. They worked together, defeating them one by one, and both became stronger. Yuya was impressed by how much Luna had improved. He told her she could now easily handle goblin elites. Luna smiled and said it was thanks to Yuya and Night. Yuya remembered how skilled she already was with her threads when they first met. Luna admitted she still had a lot to learn and wanted to get better to finish her mission. Yuya admired her hard work, but mentioned that he wouldn't be able to train with her after today because of his study trip. Luna already knew and told him not to worry. She thanked him for everything. Yuya thanked Luna as well for all he had learned from her. Since it was their last day of training together, he encouraged Luna to stay focused until sunset. During their final session, Yuya was surprised when Luna let him use the bath first, as she usually went first. Luna explained that she wanted to share the bath with him this time. When she joined Yuya in the bath, he was shocked and quickly tried to leave. Luna thanked him for granting her request and said that his help made her see the world in a brighter way. Yuya didn't fully understand her words and felt shy when she offered to wash his back as thanks. He was even more flustered when he noticed her towel had fallen off, and he quickly promised not to look. Later, on the bus to Osei Academy, Yuya played cards with his friends. Keed asked Yuya if he was tired. Yuya admitted he was a bit sleepy, but had been winning a lot in the game. Keed praised him for his skills, but Yuya said it was mostly luck. Akira sighed and joked that even the old maid card couldn't resist Yuya's charm. Rin laughed and said it was because everything Yuya was thinking showed on his face. Feeling embarrassed, Yuya apologized and said he needed to rest. Keed noticed his yawns and promised to wake him up when they arrived. Excited, Rin told everyone to pick a card. Yuya thought about his good luck and wondered if it was because of the high luck stat he had. Akira urged them to pick, and Keed drew a card, making Akira shout in surprise. Yuya felt a bit guilty, wondering if his luck was affecting the game. When they arrived, Yuya was amazed at how big the place was. Akira proudly mentioned how great the Osei Academy facilities were. Miss Iwata told everyone to change their clothes and gather in the hall for a briefing about the trip. She explained that the off-campus trip was for their training to become future elites and would involve spending 1 night and 2 days outdoors. Ryo asked about food and supplies. Miss Iwata replied that the mountain had wild mushrooms, edible plants, and fish in the river. The school would give them some rice, but it wouldn't be enough, so they'd have to find the rest themselves. Ki was worried about picking the wrong mushrooms or plants. Miss Iwata assured them that they could show her their finds, and if anyone got sick, the school doctor, Ms. Yamakawa, would help. Ms. Yamakawa told them not to worry. She said the medicine they had worked well, even for poison. Ki mentioned that the infirmary was always dark, with strange noises, making it seem eerie. Akira joked that it was better to skip a meal than risk eating something dangerous. Ms. Sawada scolded him. reminding everyone that this trip was part of their coursework and a class competition. Yuya asked if there was a prize for winning, and Ms. Sawada said it would affect their homeroom teachers' bonuses. This made everyone more eager to win. Rin wanted to finish the trip fast to get back to the facility, while Keed worried about the mountain being scary at night. Ms. Sawada said the teachers would stay at the facility, but the students would camp out in the mountain. The students were nervous about setting up tents and fishing. Akira confidently said he'd take care of fishing and foraging, and Rin suggested splitting tasks. Rin proposed that Keed and Yuya go fishing while she and Akira would look for mushrooms and plants. Keed wasn't sure about fishing, but Yuya was fine with the plan. Rin encouraged everyone to do their best. As they got ready, Keed wondered if they had arrived too late, and Yuya agreed. Ryo noticed Yuya coming late and teased him for being slow. Yuya, still catching his breath, admitted they were moving fast. Ryu warned that if they hesitated, they'd miss the best spots. Suddenly, Ryu spotted a good catch and shared the news excitedly. Keed thought about giving up, but Yuya felt they were close to a good spot. Keed worried the shallow water might make it hard to fish, but Yuya stayed focused, pointing out where the fish might be. Yuya thought about Luna's advice on understanding monsters' behaviors. He realized that reading the fish's movements could help him catch them better. Keed was impressed by Yuya's skill and cheered him on. Caught up in the moment, Yuya kept fishing until they had more fish than they could eat. He apologized for getting carried away and silently thanked Luna for her tips. Later, in the dark forest, Luna trained her skills, noticing how much she had improved. She thought about how unique Yuya was compared to everyone she had met as an assassin. Even though she regretted not meeting him sooner, Luna reminded herself of her duties as a member of the Dark Guild, known as the Headhunter. With a heavy heart, she knew she had to say goodbye to Yuya. Rin welcomed everyone back with a warm smile, happy to see them return from their adventure. Yuya proudly shared that they had caught fish, and Keed excitedly mentioned that Yuya had done it with his bare hands. Rin was amazed by the news. Meanwhile, Akira was lying on the ground, enjoying a moment of rest after a challenging day of picking mushrooms and wild vegetables, climbing cliffs, and even scaring away bears. He seemed content to relax after all the effort. The group gathered to cook, and Rin noticed the large pile of mushrooms they had collected. Ms. Sawada praised them for bringing back so much safe food, a first for any group. As they prepared the meal, Yuya's cooking skills shone, impressing everyone. The meal was delicious, and Yuya felt proud of his work. Ms. Sawada, clearly enjoying the meal and the atmosphere, even playfully suggested that Yuya should marry her because of his amazing cooking. The day ended with everyone full and happy, grateful for the fun and the delicious food they shared. Everyone was taken aback by Ms. Sawada's sudden proposal to Yuya. The other teachers quickly reminded her that it wasn't appropriate to go after a student, while Keed jumped in, feeling protective of Yuya. She couldn't quite explain it, but she knew Yuya wasn't the right match for Ms. Sawada. Meanwhile, Yuya was left wondering if this all meant something negative about himself. Ms. Sawada, not giving up, tried to comfort Yuya, saying that it didn't need to happen right away. The other teachers urged her to think carefully and respect Yuya's future, and even Akira stepped in, reminding her to be more mindful. Ms. Sawada, feeling hurt but still smiling, tried to play it off, even though everyone around her was getting a bit worked up. Yuya, trying to stay polite, thanked her for the compliment and said she was a good teacher, but it was clear he was surprised by the situation. As things calmed down, the day went on, and Yuya found himself smiling at the simple things, like making his friends happy with his cooking. A group of boys rushed in, clearly worried, noticing that something was off. Their things had been messed with, and the wild vegetables they had collected were missing. The atmosphere grew tense as the students realized something strange was happening. Keed frowned, trying to understand the situation, while Yuya reassured everyone that their belongings seemed fine. Rin, eager to lighten the mood, suggested they go find breakfast, though Yuya still looked uneasy. As they gathered mushrooms for their meal, Akira suddenly remembered that these types of mushrooms could attract bears, and the mood shifted from lighthearted to serious. Not long after, a boy pointed out a bear in the distance, and the teachers quickly took charge, guiding the students to safety. Ms. Sawada and Yuya stayed calm, even when the bear appeared to be a threat. Fortunately, the situation was resolved, and the bear was knocked unconscious before causing any harm. Later, the group was shocked when Kori revealed they had been given permission to keep the bear as a guard for the academy, thanks to her father's help. Though Keed worried about the potential danger, Kori playfully suggested they could always eat the bear if it became a problem. With the bear situation behind them, Yuya's thoughts turned to something more urgent. He knew they needed to hurry and protect Lexia's group from a looming threat. Along the way, Yuya came across some strange weapons and sensed something unusual in the air. Night, his companion, seemed tense, and it became clear they weren't alone. Owen appeared, calling Yuya's name, and Lexia admired Yuya's new gear, making him blush with her compliment. Owen then invited Yuya to the palace, and Lexia, showing confidence, decided to join him. As they prepared to leave, Yuya noticed Luna nearby. She had once been after Lexia, but Yuya believed she wasn't truly bad. He asked if they could help her at his home, and Lexia agreed, intrigued by the situation. The adventure continued to unfold in unexpected ways, with everyone unsure of what lay ahead, but ready to face it together. Lexia was amazed when Yuya moved them so quickly, like magic. She told him that if people found out about his ability to teleport, it could change the world and even cause wars. She made him promise to be careful and not use it in front of others without thinking. Yuya agreed. Lexia teased Yuya, saying it wasn't surprising that he had such powers. Then, she turned to Luna and asked how long she planned to pretend to be asleep. Luna smiled, admitting Lexia had known all along, and thanked Yuya for playing along. Luna then opened up about her difficult past. She was an orphan, living a hard life, and had to steal to survive. Someone had taken her in, teaching her how to read, write, and even train her in assassination. She became part of a group called the Dark Guild and earned the name Headhunter. Lexia and Yuya were shocked. Luna revealed that her last mission was to kill the princess of the Arzelia kingdom, but she failed. Now, the Dark Guild was after her. Luna had accepted her fate, but Yuya, who had grown fond of her, didn't want her to give up. Yuya told Luna that he still saw her as a friend and encouraged her not to lose hope. Luna, however, thought it was too late. Lexia, annoyed, asked why Luna was acting like it was the end. She offered Luna a job as her personal guard, promising to protect her from the Dark Guild. Luna hesitated, feeling unworthy because of her past, but Lexia brushed it off and even joked about how soft Luna's hands were. Embarrassed, Luna tried to change the subject, but eventually agreed. Later, Lexia insisted that Luna join her in Yuya's magical bath. While relaxing, Lexia teased Luna about having feelings for Yuya. Luna denied it, but Lexia joked about marrying him. Luna was shocked, but Lexia turned it into a playful competition to win Yuya's heart. Luna smiled, saying she couldn't ask for a better situation. Lexia grinned and declared, "From now on, you're my guard and my rival." Yuya, feeling awkward, decided to make dinner, but Lexia insisted on cooking. As she struggled with chopping, she grew frustrated. Yuya offered to help, but Lexia stubbornly refused. When the meal was ready, Luna praised the food, making Yuya happy. Luna then asked Yuya to feed her since she was injured and couldn't move easily. Yuya agreed, but Lexia, not wanting to be left out, demanded to be fed too, even though she wasn't hurt, leaving Yuya confused. When Owen arrived, he was relieved to see Lexia safe. He thanked Yuya for protecting her, and Yuya introduced Owen to Night, the newest member of his family. Owen was grateful, but then asked about Luna. Lexia explained that Luna was the assassin who tried to kill her, but now would be her personal guard. Owen was shocked and couldn't believe Lexia would choose an assassin as her guard. Lexia firmly defended her choice, causing some tension. Luna was eager to prove herself, and though Owen was worried, Lexia assured him that if Luna had really wanted to hurt her, she would have done so while they stayed at Yuya's house. Owen was still uneasy, but put away his sword. Yuya then broke some disappointing news. He couldn't go to the palace with them anymore because he had personal matters and school to attend. He apologized, saying he might have joined them if they had left a day earlier. Owen understood and invited Yuya to visit the royal capital when he had time, giving him directions to a nearby village for help. Before leaving, Luna gave Yuya a parting gift, calling it both a thank you and a challenge. She asked him to remember it until they met again. Suddenly, Lexia shouted for Owen to stop the carriage so she could give Yuya a goodbye kiss too. After everything, Yuya admired the beautiful place he had found. He thought about Luna's declaration of war, but decided not to dwell on it. Instead, he thought about relaxing in an open-air bath. While enjoying the bath, he was surprised to find someone else there and realized he could now see their skills as if they were tamed by him. Excited, Yuya tried out a new skill called Holy Ground, which made his body feel lighter, like it was a recovery skill. Impressed, he decided to name the tamed creature next to him. Its color reminded him of the sky before dawn, so he called it Akatsuki. Yuya felt happy to meet Akatsuki, but quickly realized he had lost track of time, and Golden Week was already over. He rushed back to school just in time. In homeroom, Ms. Sawada announced a class competition event, a ball game competition. She encouraged everyone to do their best, joking that the results would affect her bonus. Mr. Owa explained that PE classes would focus on the sports in the competition, starting with soccer. The students were split into 2 teams for the soccer match. Group A had Nidu, Hayama, and others, while Group B had Fukumoto, Tatebayashi, and more. Mr. Uiwa reminded them to stretch before the game. Shingo asked Yuya if he wanted to be the goalkeeper, and though Yuya didn't know much about the rules, he agreed to try. As the game started, the students were amazed by Raya's skills, thinking he could win on his own. Rin tested Keed's jumping skills, causing some distractions. Akira showed off a powerful kick, and Yuya wasn't sure how to handle the ball. Raya told him to throw it as hard and far as he could, leaving Yuya wondering if he had just scored. Later, the students played rock, paper, scissors, and Shingo won, which frustrated the others. One student saw Yuya playing ping pong, and just then the director walked in saying, "So, this is the place.